G'day, Professor Joseph Drew. I'm here with the second part of my strategy of SRVs and how to go about it. Eventually, I'm going to start talking to you about the empirical techniques and how to do that properly, different styles of community engagement, and the things that I found work really, really well. So please persist with me through the whole series. Every video has something important in it. And remember that I'm just here to help. So use whatever you want, whichever way you want, and let's get the best done for our communities. So the thing with this, and it's a bit like the rate capping and the financial assistance grants, like I was talking about the LG Pro conference, which incidentally was awesome, is to take a step back and think about what we're trying to achieve. If you know what you want, you've got far more chance, and why you want it, you've got far more chance of getting there. I sometimes think that some councils know they need extra money, but why? What type of extra money? Does it have to be tax or could it be fee revenue? What type of money should we have for what services? Now, incidentally, if you don't know, taxation rates should only be used for public goods and services. So things you can't exclude people from and things that aren't rival in consumption. Something like a park. You can't stop someone from going to a park realistically. Same as a road. And someone using a park or a road doesn't really stop anyone else from using. That's a public good. Okay, that's one appropriate use of taxation. Another one is for subsidies for things we want to subsidise because we think they're merit goods, we think they have positive externalities. Things like swimming pools and libraries, we want to subsidise them, that has to come out the tax bill. But everything else, if you need extra money because you're pricing services, private goods, things that can be excluded and things that get internalized to the person that's using them, if you need money because you're pricing them poorly, well, maybe the place to start is not an SRV at all. Maybe it's a review of all your prices, fees and charges, and there's videos on that, and I'll make more if you want them. Just put it in a comment that you want another video, I'll make another video. So know what you want to achieve. Do you really need this SRV? Why do you need it? Until you can articulate it amongst your own little group, you're not going to be able to tell anyone else, including, most importantly, your community and their IPART. Be consistent. Now, I know you don't mean to be inconsistent, but you often are, you guys, when I'm reading through your SRV proposals. If the story is we need extra taxation money, we desperately need this money, well, it's a little bit strange and hard to understand that if you're submitting paperwork to IPART or you have long-term financial plans or financial statements that are suggesting everything's hunky-dory, that you've got no asset backlog, that all your assets are 110% up to maintenance, which is just silly, you can't maintain them more than is required, and everything's just perfect. If all your documents are saying that and then you're running around saying we need money, little wonder you get rejected when you get to IPART. You need to be consistent. Now the problem is these documents are made at different times and then often not reviewed soon enough and put back out in the public sphere soon enough prior to the SRV. They're often reviewed at the same time as the SRV and get thrown out there, and it's too late at that point. If you're thinking that you could be doing an SRV at the end of this year or next year, you need to be reviewing all your documents, your community plans and everything else, your SRVs, now. Because your story is, and no doubt it's the truth, that you need this money. All your documentation, your financial statements, these ratios, everything else, need to reflect that reality that you need the money. And doing that is part of starting the conversation with your community and the regulators and IPART. So prioritize it. It has to be the thing that gets done first, not right at the end just before we're about to put our SRV submission in there. Do it now, please. Please, please, do it now. Too many of you are not consistent in your messaging. And don't send mixed messages. Slightly different, so there's a nuance here. Okay, we really, really need money, but there's this big discretionary project, say $5 million, some road refurbishment or town centre refurbishment. Now, maybe that does really need doing, but it's a mixed message because the community see this awesome town refurbishment And then 6 months later, you're going to say, we really need money. And you expect them to understand that. By doing this discretionary spending, stuff that doesn't have to be done, you're sending the message that everything's fine, hunky-dory. I know that's not what you mean to give out to the community, but that's what they're receiving. Now, if you know you need to go for an SRV, delay the discretionary spending. Go slow, I don't care what you do. Delay it until after you've told the community about the SRV. It's not a matter of manipulating the community, it's a matter of not confusing the hell out of them. The story has to be consistent for people to understand it. I know these monies come from different pockets. Sometimes it's reserve funds and developer funds and things like that you're drawing on, which is why you still need the SRV despite the fact that you've got the money to do this discretionary spending. But the public doesn't know that. They don't understand. So if you're thinking about doing an SRV this year, throttle right back on those discretionary projects, go slow and delay them until after you've told the community about the SRV and after you've told IPART, because you're sending, so many of you are sending out mixed messages. You're saying we really need this money, we're almost broke, and then you go and do something, I know it's been planned ages ago and you've got contributions and you put them away in reserves and everything else, but as I say, no one else understands that. You can't be telling two stories at once. One story at a time if you want people to get it, okay? People aren't fixated and focused on the local government and thinking about it all the time like we are. They're just everyday people. And if they see a big job being done in the council area, they think, oh, whoop-de-doo, our council's got plenty of money, everything's hunky-dory. Okay, you've got to be very careful about the messaging. Know the value of independence and expertise. As a scholar, I have empirical skills, econometrics, data and development analysis that I don't think the regulators necessarily have, probably don't. You're not going to find out in commercial consulting land. You know, we're recognised as the best in the world. We've got skills that you're just not going to find anywhere else. Okay, we've also got independence, because my job is to be a professor, to write books, to write papers, to teach. It's not to earn money. Doing a consulting job's a bit of a pain to me. I do it because I want to help people. I want to help your community. And when I work for your community, not for you. Those are incredibly valuable things, particularly in the key task that you've got to do, which is convince your community and convince the IPART. If you've got the best, if you've got independence, fearless independence, if you've got the scholarly record and the salutation of professor behind you, you're not going to have difficulty convincing others. Whatever you do, do not do it yourself. It's a recipe for a bloodbath, for a slaughter, for political casualties, for a rejection at the end of it all, for a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted money. Get an independent expert, preferably. Now, you might decide to go to a commercial consultant. Maybe you want it packaged prettily and beautifully, and you want a particular story told. If you want that, do not go to me. I'll tell the story that I follow the evidence and the truth as I see it, not the story that you want necessarily. I won't work to a plan, I'll work to the truth. But maybe you do need to work to a plan. Well, go to a commercial consulting house. Now, there's positives and negatives. They will package it beautifully, they will be slick, they'll tell you the story that you want to tell you. But also know that they need to earn the money, and they will on-sell you. That's part of their job. That's just their reality. It's not a bad thing about them. It's just their reality. You've got to have your eyes open. But anyway, I'm getting off task and I'm digressing. Do not do these things yourself. Do not put the evidence together yourself. Definitely do not do the community engagement yourself. Preferably go and see an independent expert. Now, this was a really important video, and unfortunately I think a lot of you might have been inclined to skip through it, but it's the most important thing. It's the thing that we keep stuffing up. State governments, federal governments, everyone keeps stuffing up. They don't take that step back and decide what they want before they start the process. Please take the time. If you found this video helpful, if you know someone else that you think will find it helpful, send them a copy. Try to get them to subscribe for me. It helps me justify my time. If you can use this video any way that suits you, I don't mind. It's my personal intellectual property. You can do what you want. That's why it's not under my university's brand. It's under my brand. You will never hear a quibble from me as long as you're using it to help people. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.